Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode on Altar Call MAFS. Today is a continuation of the rewatch. We are rewatching MAFS Season 9, the Charlotte season, and today will be episode 3. If you're joining us, welcome. With me is my co host for this rewatch, Jen. Hi, Jen. How are you?
Hi, Dan. Good morning. It's morning where I am, so I am up. My poor husband is in bed while I talk, but we watched it last night and I'm so ready to talk about it.
I am. I mean, I feel like the drama is still not like ramped up. I think next week is when we're really getting into the drama, but so far so good, right?
For most everybody, yes.
For most of everybody. Okay, as always, let me get into the housekeeping, reminding you guys that if you would like to listen ad free, there's an option on that on my Patreon. For $3, you can listen to all episodes ad free, where you don't have to be bothered by the pesky ads that come in between. For bonus episodes, there's also another tier for that. And if you'd like to get the episodes early, where you get the episodes early, the bonus episodes, and ad free, there's also a tier for that. Check that out because I talk about other shows on there. So you can see all, in addition to all the episodes that you listen to on the regular feed. I would like to remind you guys that I do have a second podcast where I rewatched the entirety of Sex and the City, all 6 seasons and the first movie. And we also cover And Just Like That. And Just Like That is coming back this week. So new episodes are coming back next week. So just a reminder to check us out over there. And the podcast is Sex and the City, the rewatch, or the rewatch Sex and the City, whichever keywords, suits your fancy. Check it out. And you should find it over there. If you're watching the show or if you're going to start watching the show, you can also catch up on old seasons over there. Do you watch, Jen?
I do, and I don't know how I feel about the season. I feel like I'm hoping they do better. I'm hoping that they've listened to the feedback, and I'm hoping that things get better. If not, the fashion's always good. So we've got that.
Yeah. It's generally not a good show. Like, I can say that out loud. Like, it's not, there's no contest. It's not like it's not, they're trying to, you can't, what is it? You can't catch lightning in a bottle twice or something. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the magic is not there of what Sex and the City was, but it's decent, but it's not a good show.
No, you kind of have to find your people and your storylines that you resonate with and stick with those. Like I think the first season we really resonated with the professor and I forget her name.
Miranda?
Miranda's professor, her college professor.
Oh yeah, I don't remember her name, but she's
I
off
don't
the show
remember.
now. So
Oh no, well, this is gonna be real hard to watch.
yeah, she's not coming back.
Oh
So we're gonna
no.
see where they go. But I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen it being described as a great show. I mean, if there's anyone out there who truly really enjoys the show, let me know. Like I'm curious. Like no judgment or anything. I just, in my mind, I just don't see how there's just a lot of inconsistencies. I think it's, and I know people will say like, "Oh, if you don't like it, why do you watch it?" One, I watch everything, but it's just one of those shows where I hate to watch it? No, I don't hate it, but there's just too many inconsistencies. And I listen to the podcast of the show because they have a podcast right after the season, right after the episode. And I know Nana's pet peeve is like, if I have to listen for you to explain to me what you're trying to do, well, you've lost the plot. So
That's true.
I
That's
get a
true.
lot of context by listening to the podcast afterwards. But I think what keeps me in is nostalgia.
Yeah, for sure. And
It's
that's
just,
exactly what I was going to say. It's just we've invested so much time in this show, and you're rooting for it. It's like that little kid that you're like, "Oh, you're not good at this sport, but I'm going to root for you anyway."
yeah. And I will say the second season was better than the first. I think the second they kind of found their groove and it was a little better, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, what was I gonna say? What else? Okay, from past MAFS participants, Molly from the Boston season. We don't hear about her much, but famously, you remember her because her groom ended up married to one of the experts, Dr. Jessica. So,
Oh.
and she's pregnant and she's due in November and she's having a boy. and she's engaged. I don't know if I reported it, I don't remember, but she's engaged and she's having a baby. So congratulations to her. Camille's family hosts a barbecue every year for Memorial Day, and she just shared like a whole bunch of pictures where they were blending families, like her family and Thomas's family, and everyone having a good time. And it looks like a really good time. So good to see our season 18 couple still holding on strong.
The
And
one and only.
finally, at this point, honestly, I think we only just expect one every season these days.
If we get one, we're happy. Our
Yeah,
expectations are low.
there we go. And finally, I don't know if I've said this before, but Mika, she was from the DC season and she moved to Hawaii. And now I think she's moved to California, LA specifically, but she's made that move again. So congratulations to her. I would, something funny, Jen, I was going through on the Lifetime app. I don't remember what I was looking for. And I realized that season 10 is not on the Lifetime app. That's the season
Mm,
Mika was on. And I'm like, nothing, what happened on there? Like, would be the reason why that is not on there. I don't know. But I will
hmm.
double check, but I did not see that on the Lifetime app when I was
Interesting.
looking through there. A reminder to you guys, I talked about the Peacock promo that's going on. You can get it for $24.99. It is ending on the 30th. So you have a few more days for you to get in there. And if you can, get that offer to be ready for MAFS season 19. My I think I'll just group this with the question. You guys, I'm trying to do where I asked if you have any questions, send it in about maps, about, any reality show. Happy to answer, happy to share my thoughts. And this week, I got a question from Adrian. And I wanted to add, if you guys send in a question, let me know if you want me to say your name or not. And I'll be happy to respect that. But Adrian says, I just got done listening to the D List Diaries podcast, which is with Nicole, who is from the Nashville season, and it was featuring Emily from MAFS 17. I'd be interested to know your thoughts on it, especially the relationship with the girls and some of the things that she mentions about Brennan. So, in a nutshell, Nicole, Kirsten, and Gina interview Emily, who has moved to Chicago now, and just asked about her time. And there were some highlights that she mentioned. Things like she didn't think she was going to get matched because she's a conservative and she didn't think she would find a match. But Brennan was also a conservative and, they had that in common. And she had an inkling who she was matched with. She saw a picture
Hmm.
of him. There was a friend who was a mutual friend who knew, I guess, Brendan was going through the process. And I think he knew he'd been matched and they just kind of figured they were matched together and they showed her a picture and she thought he was cute. And the divorce is like a mess. It's been over what 2 years now, but it's been a mess going back and forth on that. And they asked why they couldn't get she couldn't get an annulment, and I think she said he was just making it really difficult. And the question they kept asking is like, how do you prove that you didn't have sex? And she says that Brennan got a doctor's note. And they were like, saying what?
Ew.
Saying that he had erectile dysfunction from anxiety through the
No.
but she was like, it's bullshit that it's like she went on LinkedIn and it's probably a doctor's note from a friend of his that wrote it for I don't it's just it really sounds messy. But she kept saying it was expensive and I was wondering why the show didn't pay for it and I didn't quite understand that part. But the main thing addressing your question, Adrian, about her not talking to the girls. Basically, she said that she's not in contact with the ladies anymore. And it just felt like they were trying to control her on what she was posting. And it felt like another Brennan situation, her words. And it just felt like almost like when she wasn't a broken bird, they didn't know what to do with her. And they were trying to make her a villain. And she was going to therapy with Emily, who I think she was a neighbor with, and I don't know in what capacity, whether it was for the show or as friends and everything, but she got evicted and she just knew she had to leave.
God.
So it was a lot that was
Oh.
going on, but she does maintain that she was brainwashed and she has a lot of anxiety and she was being controlled by Brennan. And I find it very difficult to speak on it now because the way she spoke about it, it sounds like she was being emotionally abused. how she said, like, Dr. Pia clocked it. And I don't know, I don't want to speak on anyone's experience because I wasn't there, and that's what she said. And she kept, blaming herself. And I think at some point Nicole had to be like, you keep saying you're a smart girl, but it's not about, being smart. These things happen, being in a relationship, because she does say a lot of the times that, Brennan took advantage of the fact that she was in a relationship, that he would pace around and then make comments like, Emily, you've said it again, or you've done it again. And it just really sounded a little scary. But again, we weren't there, so I don't know. But I still have the same stance in that I still think that the cast handled it wrongly. Like,
Yeah.
they just, it didn't need to go to the extent that it did. And in that point, again, there's a thin line. When someone is like in a victim of, not saying it's the same at all, guys, but if someone's a victim of domestic violence and people are like, oh, why didn't you leave? It'll be
Mhm.
very easy for me to like, why didn't you just go to the experts? Why didn't you? But from what it sounds like she had a lot of fear, and she just didn't know what to do, and she wanted it to work. So I
Mhm.
know, in the past, we were very vocal about what is going on with these women, what is happening, stories are being changed. But I just feel like this is a sensitive topic in light of all the things that she's saying, that I wouldn't want to just go on, what is the word? Not hearsay, but like, I don't have facts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but ultimately, I still think like the cast messed up and the cast did that. Not talking to the girls, I don't know. If something happens and they accuse her of something and four women are against her, how they
Mhm.
say if everyone has a complaint, is a
Yeah.
problem you,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But again, we
And
weren't there and we don't
mm,
know, so I don't
mm,
know.
yeah, and I love Nicole, and although I didn't hear it, I feel like Nicole probably handled it very gently and very specifically and very clearly. So I at least if Emily's going to have this conversation, Nicole seems the right person to have the conversation with. But again, it's a lot of things going on. Like it's not easy to get evicted. Like what's going on? She's got so much happening that I
Yeah.
think her focus maybe needs to be that and not relationships. And I don't know. She seemed she's like a wounded bird, and I don't know. I guess I could see the other women maybe to further their motive, I guess, maybe having her on board, but I don't know. It seems to be a lot beyond just these people and beyond just the relationships on this show. She seems to have a bigger thing happening, and these are kind of symptoms and not causes, it sounds like to me.
Yeah. And she is on that wavelength. She says she has a lot that she needs to figure out, which is why she's not focused on relationships. She's more on finding friends because, again, she has ex friends. She feels like things switch with Brennan because her friend must have said something to him. But I think, again, I hope it's a period of looking within, because if you have issues with your group of friends that you met on the show, you have issues with the group of friends that you had
Mhm.
before the show, if you're
Mhm.
having issues with that, there's something there. And then when she says they were controlling what she posted, I think I remember during that time where she just kept, saying all the things about Brennan and stuff. And it just seemed like unnecessary. Granted, yes, you can't control what somebody else wants to do. I could see it being spun, maybe them having a conversation like, hey, just take some time to heal. You don't need to say all that. It sounds like you're giving him energy, and her interpreting that as you're telling me what to do, And they're
Mm.
just like, you know what? You want to do what you want to do. We're just going to back off. Or, because I don't know who cut off who. But
Yeah.
the thing about life is like, we don't know, everyone's gonna have their side of the story.
Yeah.
So there's he said, she said, and the truth somewhere in between. So what I feel is like, and what we saw on on the season, there was a little bit of immaturity, because then again, you had issues with Keisha, then there was something with
Mhm.
Kevin. Come on,
Yeah.
so you're
Yeah.
gonna hope that there's some growth when it comes to that. But on the flip side, with the stuff with Brennan, I don't want to touch that, and I hope she has some healing, when it comes to that. But with the friendships, I'm just like, I hope that she can do some reflection, and she's it seems like she's doing that, having a fresh start. Because at some point, if everyone's having the same complaint with you, then
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
you might have to check that out.
What
And on
else?
that note, I think my final My final passport match participant is Emily put up a poll on her story asking who is more talented, Beyonce or Lady Gaga. And
Well,
and that
why?
that I
Why?
Lady Gaga is great. Don't get me wrong. I love her. Like I've gone to see her live, but it's just Beyonce against anybody. Like unless you're like Michael Jackson or something. I don't know. It just feels not equal.
I don't know. Well, this is just another case of somebody putting Beyonce's stuff out there to get attention for themselves because there's no reason to have this conversation out loud. This is one that you have with your friends. Like, why does Beyonce? Why are you out on this internet? Beyonce's doing Beyonce. Leave her alone. And they're completely
Yeah.
different people. And they did a
Yeah.
song together that was really good. So why do we have to pit this person versus another? They're both extremely talented and have bananas voices, and they both acted, and they're both great people. Why do we need to pit these two against each other?
I don't know. We don't need to pit and we can ask, but I'm just Beyonce or Gaga. I'm just like, what? Doesn't sound fair to me, but that's just me. All right, guys. We'll take a break and we'll be back to talk about episode 3. And we are back. But before we get into it, Jen, you might need to address something that you said
Oh my gosh, this mouth of
last week.
mine. Oh my goodness.
I'll hand it over to you.
Well, apparently, and thank you for your listeners that were bigger John Hughes fans than I ever thought that I was, where I mentioned, I made a reference to Beth being like Jenny from one of the John Hughes movies where she was at her wedding and she had muscle relaxers. And I believe I called it Pretty in Pink. And your lovely, lovely, lovely listeners were very sweet and being like, ooh, I think that was 16 Candles. And they are absolutely right. It was 16 Candles. I am so sorry to everybody who I not offended, but you guys were very quick to make that correction for me, and I appreciate
Yes, this is why I love you guys. Like I'm always like confident. Like if I say something wrong, someone is going to set me straight and let me know. So thanks, guys. All right, let's start in and dive in with Beth and Jamie. My whole goal this episode was to see when is the transition from Elizabeth to Beth. We
it.
kind of got something, but I don't know. When we get there, we'll see if it was conclusive or not. But the night of the wedding is done. He helps her out her dress, says he has no idea what's going to happen tonight, but he's crazy attracted to her. Beth is like, I'm a sexual person. I'm not going to be surprised if something happens tonight. And then she just undresses in the middle of it. Like the camera guy's there. She doesn't care. We're just seeing blurred stuff. And she's stark naked according to the blur because everything is blurred, but Jamie says she's half naked, but she's hot. I mean, I think that's the right reaction. I mean,
Yikes. That's all I thought about this whole episode was these poor cameramen. No, I hope they got raises.
the things they've seen. So she says, yeah, I took off my clothes because I'm more comfortable naked. And he's paying off on his debt because if you remember during the wedding cake cutting, he shoved cake on her. And I think she said, if you do that, you're going to have to wear masks and things like that. So they're wearing the mask and they go to bed. The next morning, they tell us that nothing sexual happened, not because they didn't want to, but because they were tired. As I think there's a poll that came out at some point that most couples don't have sex on their wedding night.
It's a long, 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 long day, and I get why people don't. I mean, I feel like maybe it skews on age. So maybe if you're 21 and you're all taking shots, and that's just part
Hmm.
of your life anyway. But I got married at 30, and after, especially for the women, we start so early with hair and makeup and all of that other stuff, and then we spend most of the day interacting and greeting and smiling and whatever, that by the time we got home and that heavy dress came off, I was done.
Well, I didn't have a wedding, so I'm not one of the statistic.
Ah, wow.
Just had a small ceremony, so that won't tire you out.
Ah, true, true.
So Jamie had a wide grin, and as he says that, she's spontaneous, she has a lot of energy, and it's going to be fun to keep up with her. Dr. Pepper tells us that this is the first time that each spouse will sit with their in-laws for brunch the next day. So I think it's pretty cool that we're finding out that this is the first time that this happened. I didn't remember that this didn't happen in previous seasons, actually.
Actually, so many firsts this season. We've got the first time that we see Dr. Viviana, the first time we're meeting the in-laws. And I like that this one went pretty well, actually. I think sometimes as we get further along and as we're where MAFS is now, some of the family are like, ooh, it's my TV moment. But this was back then where they didn't know. So it was pretty authentic. I liked it.
This is one of the segments that I don't like because we have to watch it over and over, especially now that there are five couples. So we're watching it 10 times.
Uh,
Like,
I guess it depends on
movies.
what happens because there was such a difference between, you know, Jamie and Elizabeth's parent meeting versus, let's say, Deonna and Greg. So it felt different, even though they may have asked the same question. So it was new to me for this being the first season.
Yeah, I just don't enjoy it. Even like now, this the housewarming party, I don't like those.
Yeah.
So his family is so nice to her, and she at the end of it, she thanks them for accepting her quirky self, and he tells her family that I like her, like she's a lot, but I'm having a blast. Then he brings up the car tags. I think this was in a confessional. He was like, he just thought it was funny. Her dad read it up, and it felt passive aggressive.
Yeah.
I didn't make that connection. What is passive aggressive about saying, do this, here's a Visa card, pay this?
I think in any other dynamic, it wouldn't be strange, but I think because of Beth's and her dad's closeness, it felt like I'm giving this to you, but I was here first. And I could see, again, in any other situation, it wouldn't be passive aggressive, but because of the very, I guess, close relationship Beth and her dad has, I could see why he would interpret it that way.
Okay. I was wondering if passive aggressive was the right terminology to use, but who knows? So her dad keeps harping on her being like a lot and then jokes about, oh, are you going to take our last name? And I'm just wondering, like, is he trying to sabotage this marriage? Like, he's not like saying, good things about her or positive things. He's just saying, oh, yeah, she's a lot. Wait till you find out this and X this. Then the mom mentions like a firstborn, and her dad is like, don't say that. It upsets me. And then
Her
he
dad was
talks
out of
about
pocket this whole time.
it
This
really
whole
it
time,
really
her dad was weird.
it really was. It was like they were playing really hard, playing it up, like how close they were. And it was okay the first two episodes, but then this brunch, it was like he laid it on thick. And then he talks about, what are they gonna do? And he's like, I don't know, we're just gonna lay there, even if it's do nothing. That's Jamie, and it'll be fun. And then the dad is like, don't say that. That burns my ears. Then the mom was like, oh, she has a heart of gold, but she keeps it protected. And the dad says, that's my heart. I take care of her, if you can't tell.
Creepy.
And
So
yeah.
stinking creepy. This whole exchange. I think, again, for me, especially for this being the very first time they've had the in law meet, I think the idea of like, well, who are you? And who are you to my daughter? And how are you going to take care of her? And how are you going to make sure she's happy? All of those are very valid questions that nobody at this table asked. Like, nobody asked about who are you as a guy. It was really like, our daughter is awesome. How are you going to, it was just, it wasn't welcome to the family. It was, all right, here's our daughter, make her happy, and we don't give a crap about you. It felt so odd. Ugh.
I can never rule out producers in this because I think what I was also seeing was they laid it on heavy with the dads. Now, this was the heaviest, but all the other dads were kind of heavy too.
But I think that's what a dad would do. If my daughter is marrying a complete stranger, I I feel like the dad is going to be the one that's like, "Hey, mom is good cop, I'm bad cop." So I didn't think that was strange. It didn't feel unusual to me that the dads would be like, "Hey, I'm taking care of my daughter regardless of what their relationships are." So that didn't strike me as strange. It was just this very, I guess, confrontational, and maybe that's where Jamie got the passive aggressive feeling from
Yeah.
was just real kind of in your face. And that's my daughter, and don't touch her. You're making me ill. And uh, it was like, what's happening? You realize this isn't the first dude. Like, if you've seen the episode, this is not the first dude she's going to do any of that stuff with. And most likely
Yeah,
not
I
the
just think
last.
I don't know. I just feel this season was heavy-handed on the dad thing. Cuz I mean the rest of them and I get it, like they do that, but it was just this is my baby girl. This is my and I'm like okay. But he does say that he couldn't watch her kiss her he couldn't watch him kiss her last night and the kiss on the face upset him. Like we said, this was too much. Like why are you said it once, he said it twice. Like why are you upset that your child is happy? Because basically that's my interpretation. She
Yes.
is going to kiss her husband. She is
Oh,
going
a
to hang
lot.
out
Oh,
with him.
goodness.
So he says that it makes him sad that he takes away a part that he has always had. And Jamie was like, okay, with all this talk, where do I fit in? That's in a confessional, not to his face. He's smarter than that. So and Jamie also says that his initial feelings were like, this is going to work, but he's married to Beth and not her dad. He does say Elizabeth, but he's still saying that. So they get on a knock on the door, and the basket says that it's their honeymoon to Antigua.
Woohoo.
And do you feel like these honeymoons seem more splashy than the current ones that we have right now?
Yeah, I'm thinking about them going to Mexico and some of the other not very distant places. So yeah, Antigua seemed a little bit more uh fancy, although the rooms were if they felt like Airbnbs to me. But I did think back in the day they had fancier honeymoons.
Or destinations, also. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So at this point, Jamie asks her, what do you like to be called? What do your friends call you? Do you want me to call you Beth or Elizabeth? She says, most of my friends call me Beth. And he says, what does your dad call you? She says, oh, my dad calls me Beth. He's like, fine, then I'm calling you Elizabeth. That really cracked
Boom.
me
in,
up.
in your face, Dad. Booyah.
Like, I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not really gonna compete with this man. Like if he calls you that, I'm going the opposite way. We're not gonna do the
Hmm.
same things. But for the people that didn't work out, that I know that didn't work out at the end of this, they still seem like super chipper during the confessionals. I feel like with recent season, like let's say Michelle, we know this is not gonna work out. Or some people who are speaking in the confessionals, but these people, they're all yay, and then we were and things were so well, and I'm like,
Hmm.
didn't they record this afterwards? Like why are they still chipper, unless they didn't?
And I have a
So
question for you. I know you're
yeah.
going for it. So, how do you feel with all of this going back and forth with Jamie and Beth's dad at the brunch? The mom just kind of sat there. I don't know if her stuff got cut out, but I don't know. How do you feel about her not really ever interacting or injecting or having any kind of balance in this very unhinged uh, interaction?
I think that this was the most that we saw her participate in this because she was the one who said her she has a heart of gold. She was the one who brought up, having a joked about having a grandchild. So I do think she interacted, but I do think she's a more reserved. Her husband has allowed her personality. Her husband is like Beth.
Yeah.
So I think maybe she's used to it and that's just what it is. But for this episode, this was the loudest that we've seen her.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so another first, or something I noticed from this, will this be old era season 9? That's safe to say. It's midpoint. Yeah. So another change is like they don't seem to meet before traveling because currently, right now, all the couples meet. They meet at the airport and then they meet when they land and then they have a little landing brunch, not brunch, landing meet and greet or
Mhm.
something at the hotel lobby. But in this, they seem to be traveling separately. They went on different flights. They arrived at different times at the hotel. And I just found that interesting.
I like it better that way. I feel like when they start meeting each other and they start comparing notes, like, did you and did we and what did you think? Da, 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 that's when things get muddy and other people's opinions start affecting their own opinions. So I like it when everybody is separate at this point.
Yeah, because you first meet, you start sizing yourself up. Rumor
Hmm.
has it, that little picture when they first met was where Madison was looking up David like, you look good. And David is like, when I saw her, why wasn't it her at the out? So give them a little bit more
Exactly.
time to get to know each other.
Yep.
Okay. So Jamie and Beth are doing a selfie cam, and he says that he's looking forward to exploring her. And then we see Beth in the selfie cam of herself in lingerie, like actual lingerie, because they had to blur out her nipples. And she's like, I hope he takes this off of me. And in her words, she says, is this where you want to be when Jesus comes? This is when she's shown herself to Jamie and is on the bed. I don't know what this means while wearing lingerie, but my first thought was, how can you not have this woman on Traders? For those of you who don't know, I had Jason as a guest, and we did a draft pick on people that we want to see on Traders from MAFS, and Beth and Lindsay were top of our list. Like, we gotta have these people
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
on Traders.
oh my gosh. I just and I props to Jamie. I have to say he handled himself really well because she was doing everything but putting everything exactly in his face, although it was pretty much in his face. And he
Yeah.
was very respectful. She was like, well, what do you want to do with me? He's like, explore with you. And she kept pressing him to say this very sexual thing. And he was trying to be respectful because, hey, you're on camera and your dad's going to see this and whatever. And at some point, he was like, all right, fine. I'm giving you what you're asking for. But oh, so much.
Yeah, and the final thing that we got from there was her saying like, "Listen, I woke up this morning wanting to climb Jamie like a tree, but I wanted to wait till our honeymoon because I just felt like it was going to be more special if we waited till then." So they're going to have a good night. The last thing we see is Jamie getting up to close the door, kick the cameraman. And my guess is by next episode, the next morning for them, we will be getting the usual we had sex last night or we consummated the marriage, which is the language they usually use.
I don't think they're going to use that nice language. I mean, Jamie will try, but I don't feel confident that Beth will use that language.
All right. Okay. We'll take a little break and we'll be back for the rest of the couples. And we're back. So Iris and Keith, if you remember, Keith has just found out this discovery that she's a virgin from his mom. So he's playing like he doesn't know. Well, he's not bringing it up. He says he's choosing not to bring it up. Iris, is going to bed with her garter still on. And he's saying that she's perfect, but she doesn't know that he knows that she's a virgin, but he doesn't want to bring it up till she does because he doesn't know what her expectations are. Then she starts just randomly like, tell me a secret that only you could tell your wife. And I'm like, not that's so subtle. Like, okay. And he's like, I don't have a lot. And also, you're on TV. It's not a secret that he could only tell his wife. He's like, I don't have a lot of secrets. So how about you? Like, let's just
Right.
get to it because we know what we're asking.
Right.
So she's like, oh, I'm so anxious. And guess what? And she puts her hand in her face. I'm a virgin. I just and Kith is like, for real?
What? That cracked me up. And the Academy Award goes to Keith because he was like, wait, what? Because that was not the reaction of somebody that's hearing this from the first time. But I appreciate him for trying.
Yeah. And she's like, okay, I'll give you a second to just ponder what I just told you. He's like, yeah, I have mixed emotions. And how do you feel? But before I move forward, do you think he should have mentioned that his mom told her, oh, this was the best course of action?
I think for her, this is the best course of action. I mean, eventually it's going to come out that he already knew. So I don't know how she's going to react to that. Like, hey, I appreciate you giving me the kindness, or if she's going to be upset. I don't know how she's going to react to it. But for him, I think that was the best course of action. I think where I got annoyed, and maybe it happened off camera, was them not delving into it a little bit deeper. Like, well, what does this mean for you? And what does this mean for us moving forward? And you're married now. What is your expectation? I feel like I would like for them to flesh that out more because it's a big deal. And the fact that they were
Yeah.
like, I'm a virgin. Oh, that's crazy. All right. My last name's Manley. And they just kind of moved on from it. I don't know.
Yeah. Um, who knows? Maybe it will come up, but it is a lot. And I think that's that age old question of when is a good time to talk about stuff and when is because at this point, they have not known each other. Well, they've only known each other 24 hours.
Yes.
So, yeah, they're married. Yeah, they're in a honeymoon. Maybe they'll have that conversation, or maybe it was off camera. We'll never know. So,
He handled it well. Like, I think, and I'm so nervous that this is not going to go the way I think it's going to go. But he handled it well, where he's like, I'm not rushing anything. I want you to feel comfortable. I want to get to know you. We're not in a rush. So I think, in terms of how he felt at the wedding and being like, this is unexpected and I wasn't prepared for this, and how he handled it that night, I think he's doing it the right way.
yeah. So, in response to him asking how she felt, she says, this is, you're my husband, and I've purposely saved myself for 27 long years for my husband. And he's just like, oh, I appreciate you telling me it's something to be proud of. And it lets him know that she's taking it seriously and he's not rushing anything. And then they kiss. So, to your point, it was just surface and they didn't really talk about anything.
No.
So in the morning, Keith cracks a joke about not having her number and asks her for her number. Iris says that she wants to have sex, but they did not have sex. That she asked him, and then she asked him how he feels about it this morning now that he slept on it. And he says, like, he's not really like thinking about that, that he's more focused on her getting comfortable with him. So they move on to the brunches with the family. They both had good visits. She asks about, him, and they say that he could get grumpy. Keith remembers her birthday and is like, oh, it's November 30th and this. And her dad is like, okay, that's impressive that you remember that. And then her dad gets all serious. So that's what I mean by I
Mm.
think they leaned very heavily into the dad love because in other seasons, it's not always been dad heavy. I clearly remember Miles' mom really saying, like, you better love my son. And if you don't love him, bring him back to me. So,
Mm. Wow.
so this, yeah. So this is, yeah, this is very daddy heavy. So Keith says that now that he knows that she's a virgin, it explains why her dad was very protective of her. Respectfully, I beg to differ.
Same. What? No.
Like what?
Absolutely
Like if
not.
you're not a virgin, then you're not protected. Like they're just laying so heavy on this that I'm like, what is going on? And especially when it's not like it's 1852 or something, you
Yeah,
know?
the miles of tears that father cried and was crouched outside with this still mystery woman, whoever this woman was that was rubbing his back, was not on par with that situation at all. No, his reaction was well beyond a normal reaction to have,
Yeah.
because are you this upset because she's a virgin? Or are you this upset because she's your daughter? Like, either way, your reaction was so out of pocket. And then to come at him so hard after you kind of cried all over the place is really strange. I could see him being like, she's my baby and I care about her and I want you to care about her too. I could see him having that conversation, but I'm the dad. Man, she's 27. I'm gonna need you to sit down.
So yeah, so the visits went well. They get back to their rooms and they do the recap. Iris tells Keith, what are your expectations, on living together? Just let me know what your expectations are and we'll work on that. And Iris says, like, it's a lot that's going on. It's a lot of firsts for her. Like, this is her first, marriage, her first honeymoon, her first time living with a man. So that has to be overwhelming, though. I mean, the premise of the show itself is overwhelming, but for her also, I guess this is a lot. And something I thought about as she was saying a lot of first, I know she spoke a lot about being a virgin, but did she speak about previous boyfriends? It just feels like she would be like, "Oh, I've never been in a relationship," but she didn't say that.
Yeah, and again, that goes back to, like, let's get some clarity on what this means. And my husband was very hilarious about, like, is she an all but virgin? Like, what level of virgin is she? Like, yeah, we haven't talked about that yet. But that's probably something they should talk about. And it doesn't need to be on camera. But no, we don't really talk about exes and all of that. At least we haven't heard it. But I think, especially for these two, it makes sense to have some of those deeper conversations about, A, why did you make this decision? What does it mean for you? And he tried to ask her, like, what are you looking for? What are your
Mhm.
expectations about us moving in together? And I don't think she had an answer for him, or vice versa. One of them was like, whatever it is you want, which is not the best way to approach being with a
And I
stranger.
and I want to clarify. Jen said her husband said all but. That's B-U-T, like everything but, not all B-U-T-T.
Actually,
Everything but version, not everything but behind.
actually, I don't think he meant it that way, but I appreciate you covering for him.
Wait, you think he meant?
I think he meant that. I think he meant the Jessica Simpson version, that everything but is
Yeah.
what.
Oh God. Okay. Either way. So I mean, because if it's religious reasons, I don't think she would do the butt stuff.
I think he was being
But
stern.
yeah. Okay, so Keith says if it means anything that he was matched with a great person and at the core she is what he asked for. And that was a really sweet thing. And Iris is like, "Oh, thank you." Did she say hubby or husband? One of them. "Thank you, husband."
I think she said yeah, hubby. Husband wanted to.
And
They're
stuff. And then
cute.
he's
They're so
yeah,
cute.
they are. And then he says, no pressure. Like, I just want you to relax. And then they high five each other. And then that bothered me in that moment because through the episode, I've been seeing them high five. And I was like, okay, they just met. But then they're in their honeymoon and they were talking about this. And then they high fived again. And I'm like, all right, you might as well call me buddy because what is happening right now? Like, I don't know. It just bothered me.
I don't know. I mean, my husband and I high five. I think it's kind of we're partners, we're teammates, we're in this together. High five. So
Yeah, but you know each other and
that's
you've
true.
been together for
That's
some
true.
years. They're trying to build that intimacy and newness. There's literally in the honeymoon phase and we're high fiving. Come on.
But also, he doesn't know how far he can go. And again, because they haven't had that conversation, where is the line for him? Because we talked about it last episode, where there was nothing up until him finding out that she was a virgin that would have led him to believe that, because they were kissing, they were close, his hand was almost on her butt. So I wondered now if he's like, I don't know how much I can do, because
Mm,
they haven't had that conversation.
I appreciate your defense, but even if you're going to lean in for a kiss and be like, oh, can I get a kiss or can I do that? Don't
Right.
high five me. I'm not your buddy, buddy. All right. Deonna and Greg. So Deonna and Greg, we can quickly see are seem like the Camille and Thomas because they don't really show them a lot, and when they do, they're kind of just a little boring for now because there's not a lot of focus on them. There's a lot of focus on Iris and Keith and Beth. I think personally, would you agree with that?
Yeah, they're well, A, because Matt gives nothing. So yeah, so they would, and yes, for sure.
Yeah. They committed the first MAFS crime. They had suitcases on the bed. I
I
was
was
like,
going
"Oh
to ask
God.
you about that. It was like, oh, why
Oh,
are we
no, no,
putting
no, no,
suitcases
no.
on the bed? No.
No, not once, but twice too. Mm.
Yes, and same with Iris and Keith. I was like, why are we
Mm.
putting suitcases on the bed? Those are dirty.
Yeah. So he helps her out the dress and tells us that he thinks she's sexy and beautiful and he hopes some lovemaking happens. And Deanna says that, Greg is her type, but it's still awkward. Greg brings up not having her number and how am I going to save your name? She saves her number her name on his phone when she puts in her number as wifey. Then they switch and he's trying to put her number and he's like, what should I save it as? She's like, do whatever you want. I pick mine, you pick yours. And he's like, Big Daddy. She's like, no. But they end up with hubs
I
on
think this
there.
is the first episode where I realized, oh, Greg is funny. He was so serious in the other episodes. This is the first time where I was like, oh, he's got a pretty good sense of humor. Okay. I got a new perspective on him. And now I can see as his humor is coming out, because she's kind of got that same sense of humor. I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I see this now. I see this now. I was worried at first, but all right, he's funny.
Mm-hmm. So they spend their night, wake up in the morning. The producer asks whatever questions. This is all off camera. I assume the producer is asking them, like, no, we did not have sex last night. And I was reminded of the aggressive brushing that usually happens on MAFS.
Oh,
Been a minute, but was reminded. And she mentions how, sometimes you don't want people to watch you spit as you brush, but she doesn't feel weird with him watching her do that because he was just in the bathroom. I can't remember why, but he was just watching her brush her teeth
I think
and
because
them
they were
having a
talking. I
conversation.
think they were talking, and
Okay.
it was part of the conversation. And I think at some point he realized, oh wait, I'm just kind of sitting here staring at you while you're doing your thing. I think she was washing
Yeah.
her was she washing her face?
Well, she was washing her face first, and then she started brushing her teeth, and then you can't have a conversation while she's brushing her teeth. So
Right.
he was just standing there, like you said. I think he realized, but I think that was her point, but it didn't feel weird, with him being in there. They're just having a conversation, find out that he has a sweet tooth, and he's just appalled that she doesn't. Like, what kind of person is this that doesn't
Same.
have a sweet tooth?
Same. I'm with you, Greg. What the heck? No.
Must be nice. God's
Mm.
favorite.
Mm-mm.
Their family meetings go well. They find out that they're both driven, and they have a joke. They're like, "Oh, which can be hard headed." And all I kept wondering, Jen, is how Deanna was able to get her hair slicked back so hard, because I'm going through a journey with my hair. I don't get relaxes anymore and I am struggling. When I'm trying to put my hair like in a ponytail, I just struggle to get it like laid all the way flat. It just poofs up. And I know I'm just probably using the wrong thing. So honestly, if anyone's listening out there who can give me tips, I'm accepting all of it because I have but a brush. I have but like products that have been told to me, but nothing has worked yet. And I just kept looking like Deanna's is holding from the wedding. And it wasn't just her. I think Greg's sister too. And that's all I could focus on during that scene was like, what did you guys use?
Okay. Well, off air, I interviewed a hairstylist in Texas, and I will give you her number. She's awesome. But also, I know Iris wore a bonnet, but I can't remember if Deanna wore one.
Oh, I don't.
Would that help?
Oh, that's a good sharing. I don't remember. Yeah, because it did stay flat. That's
It did.
true.
It stayed really flat. So many products, but also I wonder if she also wore a bonnet.
But she would need something more than a bonnet.
Maybe like one of
Lay,
the
like
scarves. Yeah, the
the
scarf that you
silk
put.
scarf, yeah, to
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
lay flat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now this is how you get protective about your daughter. Her dad has the right approach of a caring dad when he says, I would like to think of this as I am not giving her away, but I'm letting Greg grow with my daughter. And he corrects himself and says, sorry, your wife. Okay.
Yes, I applauded. I applauded that he handled that so well. But also just Greg and Deanna in general handled it well. Like I think even when they were having the conversations about, well, do you like sweets? Do you like, they truly were getting to know each other, which I don't know if anybody else has. But I think they were really, I want to know you as a person. And I think their
Mm-hmm.
families, again, and maybe this is why having the in-law meets felt different this time, because it felt like, at least from Deanna's dad, that I want to know about this person who's going to be in our lives. And I am jumping on board, although this is unconventional and I may be resistant to it. This is how I'm going to make this work for not only my daughter and her future and her current husband, but us as well. So I loved how he handled this. This should be Everybody should be forced to watch this. All the future parents that are going on these show, like, this is how you handle this interaction.
Yep. He was like, I know it's going to take time, but we should get to the point where you're her first call and not me, and we welcome you into our family.
I love
I'm
that.
like,
And didn't he say
well
you're
done.
you're the main man in her life?
Yeah,
Oh
well
my
done.
gosh, this is so good.
Well done. So they meet up. Their recap is cute. They kept, talking about, the driven and the things that they found out about each other. And I was like, once again, Deanna really is a jokester. good for them. And they have matching sense of humor. They stopped packing for the honeymoon, and we find that Greg and Deonna had matching clothes. They had the same color for bathing suits. They had another, I don't know, some article of clothing that had the same color. And Greg is like, I don't know if it was fate, but we did. We had the same colors for that. They travel over to the honeymoon, and I think they were the only ones wearing a hubby and wifey t-shirt
Yes. And that's what I
over
was going to
there.
ask you because they had the 19s on the back. Was this in 2019?
Yes.
Okay. That made sense. Okay.
Yeah. Um wait, 2019. I'm thinking if that is because I know New Orleans is 11 and they filmed during the pandemic, but we might have watched it in 2021. I'm not sure.
Okay. Either way, then the
But
19
yeah,
didn't make
anyway.
sense to me. I was like, okay. Because season
Yeah.
9 would make sense if they had nines on them, but it said 19. So I was like, maybe it's
It
20.
aired in 2009. No, that was DC. So I don't know. Let's go with that, but I don't know. So they start doing this back and forth where Greg asked Deanna, like, oh, so how are you feeling? Are you smitten with me yet? And she's like, that word is not the word in the book of Deanna. And they're going back and forth. And it's cute, but because they don't know each other, I'm like getting a little anxious because I'm like, is she getting mad at him? Is he feeling like this pushback? And I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure about it.
I didn't feel anxious until I saw the preview for the next episode. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that scene I remember very well. And I was like, what is wrong with Deanna? But
Mm.
yeah. But yes, okay. So Greg says that Deanna says that Greg checks all the boxes, but they just met. And I think it's just human nature to not go with the flow because if everything is right, why do you have to add a but? Like, just
Yeah.
he checks all the boxes right now. What does we just met have to do with anything? It's almost like you're telling yourself, because we just met, something has to be wrong with him. I understand being cautious, but I just think everyone should use the honeymoon to pretend like life isn't real. All the real stuff is waiting for you back there. So,
Exactly. Like, let's
you
get to
know.
know each other. But yeah, I kind of, and I'm the same way. Like, I'm one of those people that I don't like surprises. I want to know. I read the end of the movie, the end of the book before I read the whole thing. And I told my now husband that when we first met, I was like, can we just get in a fight now and get it out of the way? I think we were together for maybe a month. I was like, let's get in a fight now. I just want to get out of the way. And he was like, no, we're not doing that. Okay.
How would you have started a fight, Jen?
I don't know. Things were going so well. I just wanted to know if we were going to fight, what that would look like. And if it was going to end, I wanted it to end in a month and not, be 8 years into it and us have some crazy fight. I don't know. This is why I watch this stuff.
Okay. All right. So our final couple, Amber and Matt. We start by Matt claiming that he moves slowly at the beginning of relationships. I don't know why I said claiming. I don't know this man and his relationships,
No,
but okay.
no, you have a pretty, I don't think you're wrong. I don't think anybody's wrong. I think what you see is what you get with Matt.
He says that he definitely wants to have sex tonight, but he doesn't know, but it's a strong possibility. They did not, in fact, have sex, listeners. And he says that it's fine, that he wants to set the right pace, and this is something that he hopes lasts forever. They go for their brunch. She asks about his parents, and somebody asked about his parents and if they know. And he starts his rambling of like he hasn't told them, he hasn't spoken to his dad the last 2 years. It would have been weird to tell him, and he didn't want to tell his mom, and he didn't want to bring all that baggage to his marriage. You can see the confusion on all their faces,
Uh huh.
but no one's really like, huh? Okay, like still should have told him, leave a voicemail or something.
Right. But also another situation where he's told everybody way more information than he's told Amber.
Yeah.
Amber didn't even get that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Ugh.
Amber says that she's worried because family is the best way to get to know someone, that his friends are great, but she would have preferred if his family was, the person that she was meeting. She asked for any insights into Matt, and Matt's friends are like, oh, he's a good musician. And Amber is like, "Oh, that's great. I'm a rapper at heart."
This is what happens when you have your dude bros representing you. Tell me about him. He likes music. Well, thank you, Captain Obvious. What?
Yeah, like give me something about him, his character, something.
Mm.
They ask her a question that I really hate. Why are you single? I just what
Yeah, have you met your
how
friend?
does
Have you met any of you? You all suck. That's why I'm single.
I don't know how you answer a question like that. It's because I am. That's all I have to tell you.
Right.
Her dad tells Matt, just treat her well. That's all I ask. Treating her well is better than any flowers or any gifts that you're gonna give her because her exes haven't been so great to her. And Matt is like, yeah, I'm gonna be good to her. No matter what happens, I'm gonna be good to her. They do ask him about staying in Charlotte, and this man said, I am open. Again, someone with no roots
What
was matched
is
with someone.
happening with the Matt? Not only does he have no roots, he gave some mealy mouth answer about, I've got some things in place that I want to work at after basketball. Okay, what are those things? What's happening? Who is this person?
Hmm.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Hmm. Were you surprised that her twin wasn't there?
Um, I was surprised that, yeah, their family dynamic is strange to me. I don't know if they were limited to two or three people, because now when we see people, they have half of the world there. And I think even for Beth, there was what, five of them there. So I don't know if it was limited by numbers, but yeah, kind of surprised that her sister wasn't there because they seem pretty close. And I think I would love to see her friend that was a detective be there and ask way more questions, but I don't know. They're protecting
so
Matt for
I
some reason.
I think the people that were present were her mom, who didn't say anything, her stepmom, and her dad.
Was it my I
Was it her
missed that part.
stepmom?
I thought it was her stepmom, and then my husband said the Chiron said it was her aunt, which was strange.
Oh, because I was about to say if that was her stepmom or her aunt, I think her twin sister gets, you know, and I think she would prefer she. Well, we don't really know the relationship with her mom. She keeps saying her mom wasn't there, but her mom has stepped up in the important parts. So I think that takes precedence, especially since she wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah,
They could have had the twin over there, and we know she was there. She was there at the wedding, unless she had to leave or something like that.
or have kids. I don't know, but yeah, this whole thing, and I think again, this is Matt didn't ask any questions really of tell me about Amber and how can I care for her heart, and other than the can I buy her flowers, which is generic dude bro dating 101. Like, what do you know about this person? And he
Hmm.
seems so uninterested in knowing anything about her. And I know he wants to move slowly, but bro, you're not in that process. You got 8 weeks.
So, okay, he says, oh, he's telling her family that it didn't feel right to invite his parents, like I said. And then he comes out of it and he says that her family is intense. I'm like, you call it intense. I call it a family that cares about their family member asking regular questions.
Honestly, can you imagine him with Beth's dad? Oh my gosh, his head would have exploded.
Yeah. Oh, God. I wonder what Beth would have done if she saw Matt, if she was matched with Matt.
I think Matt's cute until he talks. So I think initially she would have been happy because she's pretty tall too, no?
No, that's what I mean. I feel like she would be so excited, but I'm
Yeah.
wondering what the combination of her, she's very excitable all over the
Hmm.
place and all that. And Matt is really like, Jamie is laid back, but Matt is like back, no laid. So I just wonder what that combination would be because I feel like she would be crazy attracted to him. And
Hmm.
Matt seems like the kind of person that'll be like, she's just so all over the place and it's a turn off for me. I don't know. I just wondered about that dynamic
And
if
you
they
know
were
what it
matched.
makes me think of? It makes me think of Beth's parents, that Matt and Beth would be Beth's parents, where Matt would just sit back and be like, all right, I'm going to let stuff happen to me. He doesn't really seem proactive. So I think having somebody
Yeah.
active like Beth, although most of the stuff seems to be managed by her dad,
Yeah.
I think he probably would have appreciated. I think they actually probably would have worked out pretty well.
I know. I was just thinking about it because the experts could easily have just been like, Beth is like go with the flow and spontaneous.
Mhm.
Matt is not really living here. If he decides he wants to move, she'll be okay with that and things like that.
Mhm.
Because with her and Jamie, they moved a lot of times to different states. They
Did
lived
they?
in, places. So,
Hmm.
okay. So they do about the recap, and like I said, he told the family like he appreciates it, and no matter what happens he will treat her right. And then during their recap, Amber brings up Matt Gwynne the fifth because it's tradition in Matt's family. Matt is Matt Gwynne the fourth, and Matt is very visibly uncomfortable. And it's not the first time. Even at the honeymoon she brings up Matt Gwynne the fifth again. Why are you talking about kids? Like, on the surface level, there really is nothing wrong with, making a joke about a
Right.
child.
Right.
But with Matt, it just feels wrong. It just
Right.
feels like this man that has no plans and doesn't even know if he wants to stay in Charlotte, and you bring up a child, it just feels like it's going to make him want to run.
Honestly, but I think she's trying to show him how invested she is. Like, I think with all
Hmm.
the kissing and the "you're so hot," like, I think she's trying to let him know, like, "I'm in this, bro." And I don't know if she's doing it because she said herself that she picks guys who are unavailable,
Yeah.
which, hi, red flag, red flag. This is what we call a breakthrough, because you've been matched with the most unavailable person in the
Yeah.
world. So I don't know. I think she's just trying to let him know that she's in on it, and maybe I don't know. I feel like her twin is married with a kid, so maybe she's thinking like, oh, cousins. I don't know. I don't know what she's thinking because this guy is not giving her anything to go off of. I don't know what she's so excited about
I mean, she could have given it at least 3 days or something.
it.
I don't know. But they get to the honeymoon. We see them just making out in the pool. The scene was very long. But she tells us, I am ready to take this to the next level. So that's how we end the episode.
I mean, girl said he's my husband, so I feel like there are no boundaries anymore. I don't know if he shares that, but you do you, sis.
Any last thoughts or anything you want to add to any of the couples?
I'm rooting for everybody black because they seem to be doing what they're doing. If you don't like that comment, bring that to me and Issa Rae. Don't bring that to Tane. This is my opinion. But yeah, I think that I don't know. I don't know. I'll be impressed if Amber and Matt even make it to decision day. I think this is going to go so badly, personally.
Well, we will find out. Tell people where they can find you, Jen.
You can find my husband and I traveling through Thailand at jns.adventures on Instagram and YouTube.
And you know where to find me, guys. It is AltaCall MAFS on Instagram, Threads, Twitter, and Blue Sky. Please give me a 5-star rating if you're so inclined on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. And till the next episode, we'll be back next week for episode 4. Until then, bye, guys.
Bye.